Hey everyone, this is the video that begins week 4, and this week we're going to embark upon what's called a paradigm shift. That's a term you'll encounter in one of your videos that's linked on the content page under week 4. And also we're going to transition from the geocentric period to the heliocentric period. That's, of course, the big paradigm shift. And we're going to talk some about paradigm shifts as a concept in their own right. Um, I'm not going to prepare, at this point, I'm not going to prepare a page full of notes. I do have some other instructional materials that I'll share with you sometime during Wednesday's class. I might change that, but now I'm thinking that we're better off served just by using the video materials. So I'll rely on those. And then you've got some readings. Uh, to begin, I'd like you to look at pages 18 through 20, which we've already looked at, but there's some good material there that talks about the Ptolemaic system, and it's nice and clearly presented. There's also a diagram on page 15 that we've looked at that you do well to consult as well. So it's helpful to look at this stuff before you do the reading, obviously. It provides some background and some context, and so that's my first bit of instruction to make sure that you look at the materials before you do the reading. They'll be a little bit shorter than in the previous weeks, as will this video. So there is that to look forward to as well. Also, you'll find the discussion posting on the week 4 module 2 homepage, and I'll put it once again in the proper place on the discussion board as well for week 4. So that's what I wanted to start with. So we'll go to the content page and we'll begin with Ptolemy, who is like Aristotle and Plato, somebody we don't know that much about at a personal level, just because of the fact that he lived so long ago. But he gives us some pretty important concepts that are often derided because they are overly complex or perhaps mathematically inaccurate. But in many ways, Ptolemy kind of predicts the discovery of key astronomical concepts like elliptical motion, and he accounts for retrograde motion, and his model of the universe is beautifully complex and held for over 1,000 years. It was very influential, and it's really the best expression of Aristotelian geocentrism. So he's the last great champion of the geocentric model of the universe. And he also, like I said, he helps us, gives us the concept of retrograde motion and accounts for it beautifully, erroneously, but he's got this marvelously detailed system to account for the apparent backwards motion of select planets. So there's no shortage of good material on the content page that explains the connections between Aristotelian and Ptolemaic models, and gives you a view of what the Ptolemy's model of the universe looks like, and it's all its complex beauty and other things that are related to this week's reading. So you've got the those two sections that I asked you to look at, and then you've got some good introductory materials that introduce this idea of the scientific revolution, or the so-called Copernican revolution. There's a lot of names for it. So that's the great shift that we'll be looking at. Now, on Friday, we'll talk about Copernicus, obviously, and he's the first of our figures who we can kind of develop biographical a sense of his biography, a sense of his life experience, and what he the kinds of things that enabled him to excel as a scientist, and the sorts of things that enabled him to really put forth not necessarily the first, but the first major challenge to the geocentric, the Aristotelian view of the universe. So you've got some good models there that explain those concepts. And then in the reading, you've got a relatively short section by Ptolemy and a shorter section by somebody a bit later named Proclus, who is a Ptolemaic adherent. And we'll talk some about those on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we'll talk more about Copernicus, and we'll address the discussion prompt, and prepare for the next week as well. So that's pretty much what I've got for today. Again, if anything changes, I'll provide updates, but that's sort of a good overview of this very important week, where we're going to be understanding the transition from the Ptolemaic to the Copernican model of the universe. Also, on Wednesday's class, I'm going to talk a little bit about natural philosophy or science as it existed in the medieval period. At various points in my career, I've done some work with this, and in Friday's class, we talked some about the mandrake and the superstitions associated with that, and that's kind of fun stuff. So we'll revisit that, and hopefully amplify our understanding of science and natural philosophy as they existed in the medieval world. So anyways, that's the preview, the overview for week 4. We are now moving to module 2, so we're going to get into some concepts that are a little bit more familiar and recognizable, and we'll pick it up there. So have a good early part of your week, and I will see you via Zoom on Wednesday morning.